All right, it's recording now.
And we are now recording. So I'm officially recording with a stranger I've never met before.
With a stranger on the deep, dark interwebs.
Like, I
What
don't even see you right now. So it's
what
like,
what could possibly go wrong?
you could take over my computer screen.
Right? Send you a file, tell you to click on it.
Right. So, podcasters, I wanted to kind of introduce you guys to Anthony. Is that what you go by the way?
Yeah, I go by Anthony.
Okay, so Anthony reached out to me on Instagram, and he is with his podcast, which is called the Weird Crew Podcast. He has a partner, but she is not with us today. But he had reached out to me, and we kind of went back and forth about collabing, and then we finally made a plan work. So here we are.
That's what it is oftentimes in podcasts, and you reach out to different podcasts and you try to help each other out and spread the good word. And I know we talked about it a while back and we just could never like nail down a date to make it happen, but we were always going to make it happen as soon as we could, and now we finally can. So here we are.
Yeah. So how did you even find me on Instagram?
So I like to grow my podcasts organically by searching other podcasts. So a lot of times on Instagram, I'll use like hashtags podcast, hashtag podcast life, hashtag podcasters of Instagram. And then I'll go through like a lot of the recent posts or a lot of the top posts, and I'll go down and look at different people's posts and like and comment and say different things, keep up the good work. And that's just kind of how I grow my podcast. So I'm almost 100% sure that's how I came across your podcast, just by looking at other podcasts and seeing what they're doing and just reaching out and offering that support. Say we're all in this together.
Awesome. So have you done a lot of collabs with other people or have found a lot of people this way?
Yeah, so I was on Claire Weaver's Days Gone podcast. Days Gone is a PlayStation 4 video game. I'm a big video gamer, so that's kind of like a side passion of mine that I don't get to really explore a lot on my podcast because we're not like a video game podcast. I'm sure we'll do an episode on it one day because we talk about a lot of weird and interesting subjects. But just so happens I went on the Days Gone podcast with Claire Weaver, and that was a lot of fun, just talking about that game and how cool it was. And I really think it's like one of the most underrated video games of last generation. So that was a lot of fun. So I also went on the Ashes with Ash cigar podcast because I'm a cigar smoker and I love my cigars. So it was really cool talking to Ash over Ashes with Ash cigar podcast. We had a really, really good conversation. So I think you're the third or fourth. I might be forgetting one, but no, I'm not completely new to coming on other people's podcasts. It's something that I enjoy. I enjoy coming on other people's shows and having conversations and just chit chatting. I like having other podcasts come on my shows. We've collaborated with Shelby Scott, who hosts the Scary to Sleep podcast on Spotify. I love horror stuff, and it's like one of the best horror podcasts out there. And I was such a big fan of Shelby Scott before I ever even started podcasting. Like I would listen to her podcast for like hours when I was outside at night fishing or just hanging out. I would have her podcast playing in the background. So I heard her voice like for 100 hours. And then finally I started podcasts, and then she's on my podcast. And I was like, wow, this is a big deal because Shelby Scott is pretty freaking amazing. We also collaborated with Suffolk City Podcast, which is another podcast that's based out here in Atlanta, Georgia. We collaborated with Ghost Lore of Hawaii podcast, talks about like all the ghost lore in Hawaii, which was really, really cool. So we do have experience collaborating with other podcasts, and it's something we enjoy doing. It's something that we want to continue doing because it's a lot of fun.
Wow, that's crazy. I never even thought about searching for hashtags to collab with others. I found it to be actually a very hard like social media to grow
Yeah.
because I don't know if you knew, but like I put this on YouTube as well, and like the platforms just seem so hard to grow. So being able to connect with other podcasters may be like a little like stepping stone I could use.
Definitely. And then just, reach out to people. Listen, when you reach out to people and you're trying to collaborate with them, sometimes you might not ever get a response. And that's just the way the game is played. But sometimes you do. And sometimes people are down. And that's just how it comes about. Like for every 5 people you ask, maybe one person's down to do it. And then you guys make it happen.
Right. Yeah. I mean, right now I do a lot of collabs like with photographers and stuff for modeling. So, I mean, I guess I could just approach it the same way.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, there's times where I'm literally watching like a horror movie on Shudder, and I'm like, oh my God, who is this actor? They're amazing. And then I look them up on Instagram and I'm like, hey, you want to come on my podcast? And then they're like, sure, let's do it.
That's awesome.
Yeah, there was a the Creep Show. The Creep Show was they released 2 movies of Creep Show back in the 80s, which is like a really big like horror cult classic. And then on Shudder, which is like the Netflix of horror is what they call it, they have a TV series called Creep Show. And then I reached out to one of the actors, Derek Russo, who is now like a friend of ours. And he came on the podcast and we had like an hour and 40-minute conversation about everything from politics to acting to cooking. And it was just a lot of fun. And then when Cynthia came down here, we actually went over to Derek's house and, he's cooking us dinner and we're hanging out. And it never would have happened if we just wouldn't have reached out to him. So it was pretty cool the way it works.
That is awesome. I'm going to take your lead on that and start reaching out to some people to collab and try to open up this community for me a little bit more. But
Definitely, and it helps like with content too when you have a guest, because sometimes you're just like you have nothing to talk about or nothing that's really like eating at your heart, and so sometimes just having a guest and having someone to bounce things off of, makes for a really good podcast when you got writer's block.
yeah, I would agree with that because I've kind of been in that mode. And then my podcast that just released this past Saturday, I had my first or my second guest, but I feel that.
So you
So
you and do enjoy having guests on then.
I do. I really like it actually.
I think where it started for me is growing up. I would always watch these interviews. The person the question, I'll be like, oh my God, why would you ask them that? If I was the one talking to this person, I know the right questions to ask them. So it's just so cool being on the other side of that now, to where I'm the one that gets to ask the questions. So I'm really having fun with it.
Yeah, so speaking of interviews, I did an interview with her, and then all I could well, not all I could think about, but I did a lot of interviewing classes for my degree. And so, like, in my head, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm using my schooling right now.
Yeah, you're using those tools that you sharpened, and it's coming out naturally, right?
Yeah, for sure. So I think another thing that I found really hard with podcasting, though, for me personally, is just one, finding time to record, but then two, finding a whole separate time to edit it.
And that is the biggest thing, because Cynthia and I are both flight attendants, so we're flying all over the place, and sometimes our schedules don't match up. So when we have a day off that lines up, or even if she's in a hotel or I'm in a hotel, and we have our stuff together at the same time, in different cities or whatever, we just got to make it work and we got to make it happen. But it's not really like a chore to us because we really enjoy doing it. So finding the time to do it is the hard part, but it's not something that like it's a burden on us.
Right. Yeah, when you were telling me about our brief conversation before we started recording, you were saying you were a flight attendant and then you had a lot of alone time. So I'm assuming like during that alone time, like would be easy for you to do like your editing and stuff like that. Am I right? Or
Yeah, or just general research on topics that you want to talk about.
right.
Have a you got your iPhone, you got your notes section. I'm a Samsung guy, I'm a Samsung Note guy, so I got my Samsung Note, I got my notes section always pulled up, and so I'm always jotting down different ideas, which is something that I never really did before I started podcasting. So if anything, like this has made me a more organized person instead of all over the place. So I'm constantly, anytime something is in my head, I'm like, oh, let me make a note of that. Oh, let me make a note of that. So the alone time is really good. But it's mostly for general research, and like 90% of the time we record podcasts when I'm in my apartment or Cynthia's home. But it is a good time to have some downtime and just kind of do whatever you want to do.
Right. I'm gonna have to end this recording because you're a Samsung user and not an
Oh
iPhone
my God.
user.
Listen, listen, it's okay. We all have to learn how to coexist in this world. You know, if Apple wants to make the case that, you know, it's a better community, you know, the interface is better. Like I'm with that. Maybe the UI is better. Listen, I concede all that, but I will never concede that Samsung doesn't have better technology because they do.
All right. I'll give you it.
All
I
right.
just like Apple better because it's so much it's user friendly to me.
I get it, and I almost switched over back in like 2015, and I just didn't. But I have an iPhone. I have an iPhone 12 as a work phone. That I have. I mean, it's sitting over on my counter, but you know, it's my regular phone. You know, I'm rocking Samsung till I
Oh,
die.
okay.
I'm
So,
I'm one of those.
so let me ask. I didn't realize that a flight attendant would need two work phones. Why is that?
Well, you got your personal phone, and then you have your work phone. And so, back in the day, flight attendants would have this big manual that they would carry around with all their work rules and all this stuff in it. And it was
Okay.
really a chore. And so, with technology advancing, they're like, well, we can put all your announcements, all your safety related thing. We can put everything in your phone, and you just have access to it. And then not only do you have access to it, with a book, you can't update it. You have to come out with a completely new book,
Mm-hmm.
another big book you got to carry around. But now everything is just updated, and so it's right there. Because you know, especially during COVID times, like so many things are constantly changing in terms of like work rules and announcements, and you kind of got to just run with it. And so you constantly just have updates to, you know, your announcement handbook and everything safety related. And all those files are all on your work phone, on top of like
Okay.
all the apps that you use when you're up in the air, you know, to take payments and, you know, to talk to people on the ground if you need assistance. There's a lot of different things that goes on. So you kind of got to have a work phone at this stage in 2021.
Oh, okay. So, are you familiar like with the pilots and stuff? Like, do you talk to them at all?
Oh, not only do I talk to them, like we are in constant interaction because I fly lead almost 99% of the time. So what that means is essentially like when the cockpit door is closed, in terms of the cabin, I would be the one in charge of pretty
Okay.
much everything. But obviously, you want to go through them before you make any crazy decisions.
Right.
So you're in constant contact with them when they got to come out and use the restroom. You know, you gotta get a blocker. You gotta, you know, open the door. You have to go in. You have to sit while they come out. It's a big procedure. So you're in constant contact with them. And on top of that, when they come on, you got to have your brief. You know, where they because you know at different airlines. I'm not gonna say my specific airline, but at different airlines, you have different planes, and every plane has different procedures where like the medical equipment is located and different things. So you know, even though you're aware of it, that's that captain's bird. That's his baby. He knows about that plane. So he's going to brief you on it. He's going to tell you about it, and he's going to ask you if you have any questions. And every pilot is different. Some pilots are like, "Hey, listen, I ain't putting up with no bull. If you want somebody off the plane, get them off the plane. You don't even have to call me. You don't have to talk to me. If you want to pretend like you're calling me, that's fine. But you don't even have to talk to me. I don't want to hear about it." And then some pilots are like, "If you want someone off the plane, let's all make a decision together as a council." You know, so every pilot is different. So you are in constant contact with them. And there are some really cool pilots out there. On my birthday, I was out in Anchorage, Alaska, and the pilot bought drinks for everybody. And so
Oh,
I was out there
wow.
drinking, and yeah, so there's some really cool pilots out there. So just shout out to pilots. I know they get sometimes they get run through the mud a little bit, but there's a lot of cool pilots out there.
So I was talking to a pilot the other day, and I didn't know this, but he kept on looking at his phone, and I was like, "Why do you keep looking at your phone?" And he was like, "Well, I have to stop drinking like 8 hours before I fly." And I was like, "Oh, like I never knew that." Speaking of like him buying everyone a drink.
Yeah, and so then it will just like depend on the layover. Like for instance, I never go I never go out the day that I'm leaving. Like some people will, they're not. I'm a night owl. So
Okay.
as you know, it's late when we're doing this. I'm a night owl. I'm not tired at all. I'm all good. So I like trips with afternoon sign-ins and long layovers
Oh, okay.
because I like to go out at night. and then sleep in the next day. And then some people like to sleep as soon as they get there and then wake up and have breakfast and go walking and all. Listen, I ain't doing none of that. All right. We're going out at night or we're not going out. But with that being said, I don't drink a lot. So like my alcohol intake is minimal. So I'll say I drink a lot when I drink, but I don't drink that often.
Yeah.
So probably like 5 or 6 times a year, I'll go out, I'll have fun, I'll go in. But other than that, I'm like, I'm not drinking at all. And I'm just smoking my cigar and drinking my seltzer water and trying to remain relatively healthy. But I will say, when I went to Anchorage, Alaska, it was the first time that I was ever in Alaska. And I was just in Hawaii a few days before. And I had never been to Hawaii. I had never been to Alaska. And then I'm in both of these places within like 3 or 4 days of each other. And I had no idea I was going to Anchorage, Alaska. I got the call that said, hey, listen, you're going to Anchorage, Alaska. So the odds of you going to Anchorage is like 1 in 1,000. Like you don't even think about it. Yeah, I mean, because, you know, there's so many different places that they could possibly send you. And Anchorage is a pretty senior trip, so you never think that you're going there. And so, obviously, I get told I'm going. I have nothing packed in my bag that would even remotely keep me warm in Anchorage, Alaska.
Oh my gosh.
Everything is like shorts and a t-shirt. And it is freezing over there. But you think I'm about to sit in the hotel room and not go out? Just because I don't have the proper clothes and it's my first time in Alaska?
Absolutely not.
Absolutely not. So I was out there in shorts and a t-shirt and people were looking at me like I was crazy. But I went out and I had a great time. And big shout out to Anchorage, Alaska. Anchorage is beautiful. It's got the mountains and the lakes and just a really cool downtown area. And the people are really cool. And definitely look forward to going back there in the future.
I would have bought a whole new wardrobe. I would have just went shopping and been like, here I am.
Yeah. I mean, I had nothing. It was crazy. I just had no idea I was going there.
Right.
But I'm still going out. You know, I'm not going out. I'm not just going to sit in the hotel room. Like, well, I guess I can stay in the room and be warm. Like, no, none of that.
I guess I didn't think about that aspect as a flight attendant when traveling and stuff. Like, you never kind of know like what you need.
Well, you have and every company is different. And again, I don't ever name which airline I work for. I'm kind of weird about that. Even though, you know, we'll talk about it off or whatever. But some airlines you have just nothing but reserve, which means most people have no idea like where they're ever going. And then like me, I have a line, but there's like a set amount of days a month to where I am essentially like on standby, which is typically like, you know, 3 to 6 days. So it's not that bad. But during those 3 to 6 days, you kind of don't know. But other than that, which I don't like, by the way, I don't like that part about the job. I don't like not knowing. Like for the rest of the month, I'm completely happy because I know my schedule and I can kind of play with it and tweak it a little bit. But I do not like those like reserve days. They're not fun.
Right.
Sometimes you end up getting a cool trip like Anchorage and it's the best thing ever. And then sometimes you don't get a cool trip and you're miserable. And you gotta, you know, you still gotta get on the plane and smile and pretend like everything's all great, but it's all good. We make it work.
So let me ask you kind of like a political question.
Sure, what's up?
Earlier this year in January, I flew to Florida, and I think I flew American Airlines, and my son, he's 2 years old at this point, and absolutely would not put on a mask. Would not. And the people in American Airlines literally wouldn't let us get on the plane without him putting on a mask. And we just got in a really big like argument. Like I'm arguing with the 2-year-old. He's upset. I'm upset. But like obviously he doesn't understand like why I need him to put this mask on or like we're going to miss our flight.
Yeah.
So being a flight attendant, if you saw that going on with a 2-year-old, would you make them put on a mask?
No, absolutely not.
Hallelujah.
You just have to. You have to do your part. You have to try to do the right thing. But at a certain point, we have to understand that we're being silly. And I don't hound kids.
Right.
I let the parents do it. If another crew member takes issue to it and it's something that they want to handle, that's whatever. But for me personally, I pretty much leave the kids alone.
Okay, yeah, because they literally told us, like, actually not even told us. They would not let us on the plane unless he had a mask on. And I was like, he's 2 years old. Like, what?
It's and that's something that we talk about, and I mean even flight attendants talk about this. It's like you're watching college football games and there's 80 to 100,000 people, no masks, eating and drinking on top of each other and just having a great time. And it's like now you go to work and we get on the plane, it's like now we got to put these masks back on, and at a certain point we have to move on from this.
Yeah.
It's getting a little ridiculous.
Yeah, I agree. But
And that's kind of again, as long as it's part of my job, even if I don't agree with it, I will enforce it, but I won't be ridiculous about it.
right.
And so I think some people just are on a power trip in the way that they enforce certain things. And some people, it's an honest mistake. Hey, their mask was off, they forgot. Because most people just, especially like right now, most people aren't wearing it anywhere else except like on the plane or in the airport, or in public transportation. Like that's the only place they're wearing it. So sometimes, they kind of forget. And you kind of have to be understanding. You kind of have to just remind them and remind people the rules without being a dick about it, because you don't have to be a dick about everything.
Yeah, seriously. Like, I just don't understand. I was going to say something. I completely forgot. Oh, yeah. So, since we've connected, I want to go to freaking Vegas. I've never been. So, you're going to hook me up with, like, a free plane ticket, right?
Oh, you already know it. I'm making it rain first class tickets all over the place.
Oh, yeah. Perfect.
You've never been to Vegas, though?
No.
That's gonna be a lot of fun. You're over 21, right?
Yeah, I'm actually 25.
25. All right, getting up there. I'm 33. How do I look for 33? I look all right. I don't look.
Yeah, you're not bad.
I don't look like a. I don't look like a. Listen, I done seen some people that are my age that look. Listen, they hadn't been taking care of themselves. I seen people that I went to high school with, and I'm like, I see them now, and I'm like, oh, bro, what happened, man?
Oh my gosh, that sucks.
It's just like, did you do nothing when did you just give up on everything the second you got out of high school? Because it looks like you just started decaying immediately.
Oh, that's so sad.
I know, but take care of yourself, peeps. It's not that hard. Just go hit the treadmill, go drink some water, or not. Be happy, whatever makes you happy. Listen, I'm not completely judging you. I'm just saying that at a certain point, you got to try to take care of yourself a little bit.
Yeah. So
if not for you, then the people that love you.
I definitely want to go to Vegas because I love gambling. I don't have like an addiction or anything, but like I love gambling. I actually go with a friend once a week. It's so funny, but
where do y'all go?
I'm not gonna say that out loud, actually.
Okay, is it on the East Coast though?
Yeah. I'm located in Michigan.
Okay, all right. You don't have to name it. Okay, that just gives me kind of a general idea.
Yeah, so I'm located in Michigan, and then he's such a good like gambler. Like every single week he'll win like 4,000, 8,000, 10,000. He went to Vegas earlier this year. He came back with like 30,000. And I'm trying to like have him teach me how to play blackjack because I want to win that money.
Yeah, there's definitely a system. I mean, there's still a house edge even in blackjack, and card counting isn't as prevalent as it used to be, just because of the I mean, you can still count cards, but they might have 6-8 decks, and it's constantly shuffling, so it's a little bit harder. But you can definitely come up big on blackjack. You can come up big on baccarat, even roulette if you can find like a European roulette, because the difference between European roulette and American roulette has a 0 and it's got a double 0.
Okay.
And the European roulette just has 1 0. So less of a chance of landing on 0.
Right. Interesting.
Yeah.
So also another Vegas thing, if I were to go out there, what else do you recommend?
I recommend that you take a tour, like an ATV tour.
Okay.
Because they got a lot of like ATV tours where they'll take you out in the desert and you can ride like 4-wheelers, and they'll take you to like, different places in the desert and mines and empty lake beds and just a bunch of cool different tours out there. Or you can go down to the Hoover Dam. I would suggest doing that. That's a lot of fun. So,
Interesting.
yeah, I mean, go on a tour. I mean, obviously see a show, but sometimes some of the best stuff you can do in Vegas is actually off strip and in the desert. And I like to feel alive. I like to ride the dune buggies. I like to, go on adventures. I mean, I do enjoy the strip, and that's the amazing thing about Vegas is people just think, oh man, you're going there to party and do whatever. But Vegas is the experience that you make out of it. If you want to go there and not even leave your resort and go to the spa and just hang out in your room and eat good food, you can do that without partying at all and still have a great time. So it's whatever experience you want to make it. But I definitely suggest taking a tour.
Got it. It makes me nervous thinking about going to Vegas as a female just because like sex trafficking is so high there. And I've done a lot of research on it, and someone who's even aware of it like me, I could run into like a pimp on the road, and I've learned like a lot of slang that they would use with me, so like I've picked up on it, and so it makes me just nervous to think about.
Well, I mean, it's true, and sex trafficking does exist, and I think it's not something that's talked about nearly enough or focused on nearly enough. There needs to be a lot more awareness and a lot more done to stop it, because it shouldn't be ravaging the way it still is currently in 2021. But the fact that you do have that in the back of your mind does help you stay safe, and it gives you a leg up against someone who's not even thinking about that and it's just out drinking and not thinking about anything and just drunk out in public with, no guide, no one there with them. So you just got to be safe and you got to be responsible when you're out there.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna have another like hard time with just seeing all the girls who are already out on the streets, and like me knowing what's going on behind closed doors and knowing like I can't save them. Like that's so hard for me to think about.
I mean, even me, like I'm 215 pounds. I'm a big dude, and I know how to defend myself. And even I know it's not wise to be just like drunk out in
Right.
public by myself because you're just so vulnerable. And so like I would never do that. Like I would never put myself in that position. So you just have to be aware because there are bad people out there that do mean you harm.
Right. Well, yeah, good thing like you, I'm not a big drinker. You said maybe like 5 times a year for you. I drink
Yeah.
like twice a year. I
But when
just,
I do. When I do, it's a thing. But I'm surrounded by the right people. Like I have my Gatorade, my water. Like I'm ready to rehydrate. I'm ready to do this the right way. It's not like just a spontaneous thing.
yeah, I don't drink a lot just because I'm so prone to getting sick and the worst hangovers ever in my life. So it's like not even worth it sometimes because like I know it's gonna come.
Yeah, I'm lucky. I don't know if it's just I got good genes, but I've never had like a real hangover. I guess
Oh
because I've
my
always
gosh.
been like just prepared and ready and have my stuff there and know what it's like to rehydrate myself. Like I'll have a Gatorade next to my bed that I'm just chugging periodically as I wake up throughout the night. And I think that helps me too, is that I don't ever sleep straight through the night. Like I'll wake up like 3 or 4 times, five or
Oh,
six times
okay.
every night. And so when I do, and I've been drinking, I'll start chugging that water, chugging that Gatorade, rehydrate myself. Not wake up with that sandpaper mouth is what I call
I wish I was that lucky. I actually went and bought like $50 like pills that were made for hangovers, and it's called like after drink because I was so focused on like not getting a hangover, and these $50 pills still don't help me.
it. It still didn't work.
No, and
Did,
like
did did you want your money back?
yeah, I did. Like I should call a company, I don't know, make a review on YouTube or something.
That's how you get them to listen. You start slandering someone on YouTube or on Twitter, and then they'll respond to you.
Yeah, because like I'm like you, like I have my Gatorade, my water, like I am not getting a hangover this time. And then my body's like, you thought.
Yeah, you were wrong.
Right.
Try
But
it. Try again next time, or don't.
yeah, or not.
But you will have a good time in Vegas. Just research some things that you want to do, and if you're going by yourself or if you're going with friends, just make sure that you don't put yourself obviously in any kind of weird and vulnerable positions, but still don't let that stop you from having a good time. Just be smart about it and just be aware of your surroundings because Vegas can be a little sketchy for sure.
Yeah, I will definitely keep that in mind. So during this podcast, we know that you are a flight attendant. You said you were 35, correct?
33.
33. Okay, sorry.
33. Yeah,
I'm
I'm
trying to age
33.
you.
And no, it's all good because like I feel good because I show people my ID and they just, oh wow, you look really good, and so that makes me feel good. It makes me feel good. So because
Right.
like I'm in the age where I see people and I'm like, we're probably around the same age, and then I'm like 8 or 9 years older than them, and it's just like I'm just in that weird age where I
Right.
just look at people and I would think we're the same age, but I'm like a good bit older than them, and I guess that's a good thing. Like I'm getting older is fun. Like
Hmm.
I feel better than I ever have. I feel like I look better than I ever have, uh, and mentally, obviously, like you just grow mentally so much as you get older. Getting older isn't a bad thing. You have to learn how to appreciate it and embrace it.
Yeah. I actually had someone tell me today that I look 20, but I act like I'm 30. And I'm like, that's a compliment. And like, I love that I look young, but like, I act older. I don't
Well,
know.
I'll probably look like 24, 25, and probably act like I'm 16. So
Kid at heart. And then you said
always.
you grew up in the South, correct?
Yeah, I was born in Alabama originally, so Roll Tide, big Alabama fan. But I've lived in Georgia for the most part, my entire adult life, and even to like my teens.
That's funny. So I'm like not into sports at all, and my son has like an Alabama like long sleeve shirt that I don't even know where we got it from.
Well, your son knows what's up. You're raising your boy right. All right.
I'm trying. We're taking a small break right here so I can do my Amazon review. I'm going to be reviewing CeraVe. I'm not really sure if that's how you pronounce it, but it's a healing ointment. And the reason why I wanted to review this product today is because winter is coming. With winter, those who have little kids or even yourself, you get those dry, chapped cheeks when your skin just gets extra dry. And if you guys listened to my previous episode about my son and his skin problems, we have always dealt with them. And I have found this product to work wonders. It's like a Vaseline type texture, but it keeps his skin so hydrated more than any other product that we have ever used. On top of that, I can even compare it to the prescribed medications that his doctor has given him, and this works better. So it's called CeraVe Healing Ointment, and it is going for $9.34 on Amazon. If you could, just go ahead and click the link below, check it out, or even if you don't want this product, click the link to help me out. I get a small commission and order the products that you would like. I can't see what you purchase, but I do receive a small commission to help my family.
Yeah.
So, given the facts that we just gave out about you, is there anything else that you want to tell my listeners about you, or any fun things that you want to chime in on, or things that you want to know about me?
Well, obviously, people know I'm a flight attendant. I'm a podcaster.
Yep.
Never been married. Never had kids. Always always just kind of been solo, but surrounded myself with like really good people. I wouldn't say I have a lot of friends. I say I have a lot of acquaintances. Some people are like, "Oh, I got 20 friends." Like, no, you don't. No, nobody has 20 friends. Like, if you're broke down on the side of the road at 3 in the morning, there's like 2 or 3 people they're gonna come stop what they're doing and come get you. Like,
Right.
that's it. That's your friends. That's who your real friends are. Um, but I would consider myself to be a risk taker. Um, just going for it. So many people are like, "Oh man, I would love to do this or I'd love to do that, but I can't quit my job. I can't do this." Sure, you can. There are so many people that just like work a dead end job where they're just unhappy, and then they convince themselves that they can't quit. But if you notice, the people that take risks, the people that quit their job, the people that go for something and really try to make something happen, there's a common theme with those people, and that's that it always seems like it works out better for those people because they took that risk. And so I just always encourage people, like, I wanted to start a podcast for a long time, but I never did it. And I didn't do it because I didn't know what I was going to talk about. And that was a stupid reason not to start a podcast. And one day I got together with Cynthia and I was like, let's just turn on the microphone and start talking and see where we go with this thing. And that's how it started. And we've just been building off of that. So if there's something that you want to do out there, just go for it. Do it. Make it happen. Because time is not on your side. Like, the best years that you're ever going to have in your entire life are right now. You do not have time. Time is not on your side. So get out there and make some stuff happen.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I had my son when I was pretty young. Not too young. I think I was 21, but I still like obviously I don't regret being a parent, but I do wish that I would have waited because I'm kind of like you. Like I used to just be a risk taker and do this, that, and the other, and parenting definitely slows you down.
Yeah, you have to be more calculated with your decisions, and you have to think about your child, and that's what any good parent would do. But I do say that uh, never sacrifice your own happiness, because if you're happy, that's going to radiate off onto your child, and ultimately they're going to be more happy because you are as well.
Yes, I do agree with that. But
So be a good parent, be the best parent you can be, but don't ever like use your kid as an excuse. I'm not saying you specifically, but just anyone out there
in
that's listening.
general,
Like, don't
yeah.
ever use your kid as an excuse to, not go after your own happiness, because that's kind of a bullshit reason. And I think you're just unnecessarily holding yourself back.
Yeah, I can definitely see where some people can do that.
And like I have so many things that I'm like preparing to try and go. Not that I'm ready to talk about yet, but when I announce it, maybe we can do another podcast or something later. But
Yes.
there are some things that I'm definitely trying and going for next year. Things that I've been wanting to do, but again, I just haven't done it for whatever reason. Like nothing is stopping me. I just haven't done it, and like it's such an illusion that there's just something stopping you. There's nothing stopping you. Just do it. Whatever it is that you want to do it. Make it happen. You want to learn how to ride a skateboard? I never stepped on a skateboard a day in my life until the pandemic came. And then I bought a skateboard and I started riding around on the skateboard and I started learning how to skateboard. It was a lot of fun challenging myself in something different, something, because I played sports and stuff growing up, and in high school I used to go, oh man, look at those skateboarders. They're such nerds. They're all skinny and weird, and now it's like, wow, I respect skateboarders, because skateboarding is so hard. It's one of the hardest things that I've ever done in my entire life. And I've fallen so much and busted my ass so much. But it's a lot of fun. And I just think as I get older, I just want to do different things that challenge me.
Yeah, I
And
love
so,
your mindset.
so yeah, I mean, it's so hard to obviously just describe and tell everything about yourself in a 40-minute or an hour podcast, but hopefully people understand like what kind of person I am, and where I'm coming from, and my heart's definitely in the right place. Not saying that every decision I make is perfect, but every decision I make is made with my heart in the right place, I feel like.
Yeah, I think you sound like you are headed in the right direction, and especially like you know what you want and like you're going for it. Even I don't know what you have in the future planned, but like even the podcast, like you said, you wanted to do it for so long, and like now you're doing it. So that's awesome, and it's awesome that both of us doing podcasts, this new community we were able to like quote unquote like meet each other, or like I never would have known you before or had this conversation if I didn't start a podcast either. So that's
and,
cool to think about.
and I definitely just want to keep making these unique connections with other podcasters and different people. I think it's a beautiful thing, and it's a great community, and there's enough for us to all eat out there, and support your friends, support the small businesses that are trying to do something. And I was having this conversation with my buddy Drew the other day, but so many people have their, $20, $15, Netflix, HBO Max subscription that they just pay to every month, but they got a friend who's starting something and they won't give anything towards them, not even like a donation or nothing. I'm not saying that you're obliged to do that. I'm just challenging you to think in a different way. If you're paying $15 to Netflix, this multi-billion-dollar corporation who doesn't give a damn about you, they don't care about you. Someone that actually does is trying something and they're starting something. Maybe look in their direction and see what you can do to support them, even if it's not financially. Be their biggest cheerleader in the entire world. In your Instagram story, leave them comments, send them messages of support. There's so much that you can do for people that's not financial, but just try to help your friends and some of the smaller content creators that are making some of the best stuff out there, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. I try to always be my friends' like biggest supporters, and one of my favorite quotes is, "You can't compete with me because I want you to win too." And
That's beautiful. I love
I
it.
love that. Yeah. And that's how I treat my friendships in, small businesses and stuff, because like you said, there's enough out there for every one of us, and we all have something different to offer. We all have different strengths that we all need to come together and all use our strengths individually so we can be strong as like a unit.
Yeah. I mean, those are great words, and I love that. And that's exactly, what I try to do. I don't just talk about it. I actually try to do that, and I actually try to do what I say. So any of my friends that start stuff, they already know. I got them. Whatever you need.
I
You
hear
know,
you. If I'm
I was,
eating,
I
you're
was,
eating too.
listen, I know, and I had a conversation with my friend the other day. God, I can't mention his name, obviously, because I'm about to go into something that's kind of personal.
Mm-hmm.
So I won't mention his name, but I will say that he wants so bad to start a business. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Start his own thing. And he's so close to doing it. He just can't quite pull the trigger on it yet, And he's like, man, I have this job, I got to pay, such and such amount in child support every month. What happens if I start this business and then, I can't pay my child support and I should have stayed at my job. I said, bro, where you're at right now, there's always going to be a ceiling. And you should try this, you should do this. And if it doesn't work out, you can always go back to something similar to what you were doing. There's always going to be jobs like that out there, everywhere.
Right.
They pay close to what you're doing. And, if you're worried about your child support payment, and that's a great thing to worry about because he's a great dad. He's a good dad. Obviously, he wants to support his kid. And he takes that into heavy consideration when he's thinking about quitting, man. But me, how I am, I'm like, bro, quit. And if I need to take out a personal loan so you could pay your child support for a year while you get back on your feet, I will do that for you because that's the kind of friend that I am, And so I think you have to support your friends in any way that you can so that they can try to go after their dreams and what's important to them.
Hell yeah. And I love that. That's what we need. Like we said, don't compete with each other because we all want to win.
Yeah, don't be a hater, all right? That's so 2010.
I wonder how many people who listen to our podcast are haters.
I think most people enjoy it and most people support us. But I do think that you will have someone that doesn't like you. And that's why I say, guys, leave us a 5-star review. Leave us a 5-star written review wherever you get your podcast. Because we need as many of them as we can. Because eventually someone who doesn't like us for no reason is going to come in and drop a 1-star review for no reason and bring us down.
Exactly. Exactly. And then if my followers are listening to this, I really encourage you to go over to my YouTube and share, subscribe, because that is my main platform that I am trying to grow. So I would really appreciate if you support me. If you comment, I will look at your page and I will support you as well.
I love it. And anyone listening to this podcast, you guys want to go check us out, The Weird Crew Podcast. You can just Google The Weird Crew Podcast, or you can find us wherever you get your podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, Google Podcasts. We're everywhere. And we got a lot of really cool, interesting subjects. Like our latest episode that we just dropped was on interesting facts. And then before that, we had our Halloween special where I narrate some stories that have never been heard before on the internet, only on our podcast. So it's like exclusive. We have episodes on creepy facts. We have the Scare You to Sleep podcast collaboration that we did with Shelby Scott, hypothetical situations, and just a bunch of cool and different, interesting guests who share their own stories as well. So I definitely encourage you guys to check us out.
Yeah, and then you did a Would You Rather one, didn't you? Would you rather you and your partner?
No, it wasn't Would You Rather. Oh my goodness, I'm drawing a blank. It's Never Have I Ever.
Oh, Never Have I Ever. Okay, yeah. That's what it was. I liked that one.
Although I would do a Would You Rather, and maybe that's a good idea.
That is a good idea
for a future mini pod or a full episode.
Yeah,
because my brain is weird, so I can come up with a lot of weird different scenarios about what would you rather.
Yeah, well, I am so happy that I got to connect with you tonight, that we finally made it happen, finally creating and allowing our followers to support both of us, since we are showing support for one another And I hope that we can collab on a future podcast where I'm on yours, and that'd be awesome.
Oh, of course. I mean, any time that you want to come on, please, you are more than welcome. We would love to have you and have a conversation on our podcast. I would love for you to chat with Cynthia and meet Cynthia, and for Cynthia to chat with you and meet you. And I think that would be a lot of fun. So I think that's the next thing we're going to do is see how soon we can get you on our podcast, because I would love that.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, and we will keep in touch and chat later.
Yep, sounds good. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, no problem.